I grew up in the Central Valley, and not being near the beach, you know, we heard this stuff and it was a little difficult to relate to, but once we caught the mood of this music, it was just like, oh my gosh, and the movies were coming out and we're seeing surfboards and this twangy guitar stuff, and all of a sudden, oh, that's it. And the first time I heard it, I didn't think so much it was cool music because it reminded me of like Western swing or like old rumble, remember? And at that point I thought, you know, this is like real guitar music. There was no vocals to it. We didn't have, you know, the Beatles hadn't come out yet. Buddy Holly was dead. And this music just filled this gap for young males. Everybody had a Fender guitar, a Fender bass. We'd see those promotional ads, you won't part with your these, and we're like on our skateboards, you know, trying to look like that ad, Fender on the back, and didn't play them at all, you know, be our mom or dad's piece of crap guitar, you know, but we were on that surfboard and we were surfers. My group of musicians I was playing with, it was just like if you had to do something, you're playing out at a club, you know, the most identifiable thing was, you know, and a lot of people don't even know that that was one of the greatest jazz songs ever written by Johnny Smith. And the Ventures just took it and skyrocketed it. They doctored it up, made it wet, surfy sounding, and that was it. But my favorite song of all time by the Ventures was, I believe his name was Dominguez, who wrote a song called Perfidia. And it went... And I just, oh, and I found out a Mexican did it. It was just like, oh, giddy up. This was like Richie Valens and Elvis Presley and the Ventures all rolled into one tune. You can leave the state everywhere, and it seems like anywhere you go, oh, do you live on the beach? You know, everybody think, you know, it's the land of golden sand. And I grew up in the valley, and yet, you know, the influence was strong nationwide, but especially where I came from, the influences where I come from was country western music, hillbilly music, and whatever was popular on the radio. And you know, Elvis Presley had made it big, and Buddy Holly had made it big. Elvis goes in the Army. Buddy Holly tragically dies along with the Big Bopper and Richie Valens. And then there was this big gap. You know, you had this processed cheese machine of your Frankie Avalons and your Dion's and the like, and there was this gap, and then all of a sudden this instrumental music came out, and I think it was probably Dick Dale, the first thing I heard, and it was Miserlou, and it was just boom, 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 boom. It's just like, oh, whoa, what is this noise? And we were gone. Fast forward 30 years later, and I'm playing in a band, and we're doing a lot of surf music as it's very popular again all of a sudden, you know, groups coming out like the Aqua Velvets and the Mermen, the Little Straight Jackets, etc. et al. And my best friend says, hey, how would you like to go see Dick Dale? I'm like, what, his grave or something? No, no, he's still alive. No, he's playing. He's going to love that. And so I said, sure. So he gets his couple tickets in this place down Sacramento called Harlow's. And I think it was the Aqua Velvets who opened for him, another surf band. And it was really good because we had front row seats, and it's just like, oh, this is fantastic. So it starts getting thicker and thicker. They leave, Dick Dale comes on stage, and we're just, can't get any better. We got front row seats. And so he invites the crowd to come forward, and they all did. We no longer had front row seats. We could only hear him. We couldn't see him. But it was still a fantastic act. I mean, he must have been, at that time, late 50s, early 60s. Still looked good. Played like the devil. He ripped up picks. They were, his picks, I'm not kidding, celluloid picks were smoking on his strings. Or dust, something was coming off of them. You know, we thought he was like throwing dust or something. He goes, no, he smokes those strings just like that. The surf music, if, you know, it was, embryonically, I would say it was, it's hard to distinguish, especially early surf music, from West Texas swing. It's so close. You listen to swing music, you listen to surf music, dang close. And then you got the Latin rhythms, which came in a lot on that too. I believe another factor was the popular music of the time, because if you listen to a lot of surf music, where by and large most of them were original, several of them were cover tunes that they would put into a surf mode, like Perfidia, which I was playing a little bit ago. Songs like that, they would just take like a theme from Summer Place and turning it into this wet, wild sound. I mean, if you listen to Ghost Riders in the Sky, that's a kind of a country western song. And if you listen to Walk Don't Run, the similarities are so close. A lot of minor mode walk downs. And I didn't have my guitar on. And what defined those sounds was two things. And once again, we go back to Dick Dale. He went to Leo Fender in the Fullerton factory back in the days when Leo still owned it. Says, hey, listen, I want this wet sound. But you know, you have this amp that's got this tremolo. And you got this amp that has this deep reverb. Can you put it together? The Dual Showman was made. And I believe to this day he still runs them together in series, and that was the sound. The sound was wet, just like the music. I mean, it makes perfect sense that you had... There's the sound I was looking for. I can just keep rambling, okay? Okay. Okay. So Fender comes out with this little amp, the twin reverb, the super reverb, and everybody had to have one. So you've got this amplifier. Everybody had this amplifier that sounded like... Nice sound, not bad. And then the reverb tank came along, and all of a sudden you just stomp on your foot and you've made it deep sounding. I got that all backwards. Hold on a minute. I hit the vibrato. So you had your basic amps that sounded nice, but very flat. And then reverb came along as a little spring-loaded box that used to be separate from the amp that Fender started putting in the amps at Dick Dale's request. And we had this built-in echo chamber. Let's take it a step further. Now let's make it warble. This was called vibrato. Wah, 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 wah. And that was the surf sound. Everything, if you didn't have a Fender twin reverb or super reverb or deluxe reverb amp, you couldn't sit in. It was the sound that defined surf music. Leo Fender and Dick Dale together. No ifs, no ands, no buts.